Seder, musical and mystical. And I want to welcome every single one of you. Thank you all for coming. I know there's a lot of competition out there. There's many other opportunities you could have chosen tonight, but because I do believe that because Rabbi Daniel Katz will be leading the Seder tonight, can I get a little bit of silence? A little bit? Just a little bit of silence? Thank you. I think you guys all chose this event because of the combination of Daniel Katz and his experience with the Kabbalah, the meditation exercises that we'll be doing tonight, and of course, the selected members of Nuriel. Let's hear a great round of And I also want to mention you know that Yiboneh also and always provides quality programming. And that's another reason why Look, I don't know if I can set the tone. I'm going to leave that to Rabbi Katz. But I just wanted to make, say, an introduction of maybe 2 minutes, an idea. And why we chose Rabbi Katz for this evening. We all know, I shouldn't say we all know, we really do know, we just forgot, that all the potential that really could possibly exist is kind of wrapped up into a certain idea. And I'm going to just give a little bit of background. How many people are aware of the fact that 40 days before one is born, maybe even 40 days before you're actually conceived, a bas kol, a heavenly voice comes down and says, this person, Ploni, will be married to that person, Plonit. How many people are aware of this idea? Raise their hands. Okay, so when was the world created? The world was created, it's a machlokas. It's always the answer, right? The world was created either on the 1st of Nisan or the 1st of Tishrei. Was it really? Was the world, or was that was man? Okay, so we know that man was created on the 6th day of creation, and of course there was a certain tree, hint, that kind of, let's say, changed the events of the world. But what happened 5 days before the world was created? So either on the 25th of Adar or the 25th of Elul. That's when the world was created, right? Man was created on the 6th day. 40 days, count, 40 days before the 25th of Adar. Okay, I'll help you guys out. It comes out to this evening. 40 days before the creation of the world was already a bas kol that came out and released or revealed potential, right? About a shidduch, about a zivug, about growth. So I just want to leave you that. I really don't want to take time away from the rabbi. I just wanted to give him a little bit more time to prepare and to breathe and to get ready to share with you one of the most magnificent evenings. But we decided that because of the whole concept of elevation and reaching into one's potential, that this would be the greatest opportunity to bring Rabbi Katz to Katamon, to Baca, to the Sherman Colony, wherever you feel you are right now, because you're in the heart of all three. And this is really like the seed of potential for the rest of the year, and to really soar to the highest of highs. And without any further ado, I'm going to pass over the mic to Rabbi Katz. Oh, I had some important announcements to make. We wanted to thank all the volunteers that actually helped us. And we will need help at the end of the evening putting everything back together again. There were several generous contributors towards the Seder. We just wanted to mention them. Ilana Watson, Leslie Stoffel, Charlotte Gilgoler, Stephen Marcia Gardner, Gary and Joyce Levin, and Sandy and Kenny Werner. And I really want to thank my wife, because Dina is her name, and believe it or not, the name Yiboneh is the same letters as her name. Yiboneh. Anyway, so with all that being said, Rabbi Katz.
Good Yontif, everybody. Good Yontif, everybody. Good Yontif, everybody. It's gonna be one of those nights, huh? Okay, I can take this on. I understand what that Yontif was about, God giving to at Sinai. I understand that Yontif about taking us out of Egypt. I understand the year has a beginning, and that's Rosh Hashanah. We have to atone for our sins. But if there ever was a low concept Yontif, it's the Yontif where the sap comes into the tree. It's the Yontif where the hummus goes into the fridge. It's amazing how deep this Yontif goes. It's amazing looking around the room how much we need this thing. It's amazing that these little things that are discussed as a hint in halacha. They're discussed as a small custom in Kabbalah. Towards the end of days get bigger and bigger. There's some people that hold out there in the internet world that this is just one of these silly things. The more bored people get at the end of the days, the more religious people have to generate new customs. But we don't have enough already, enough chumras, enough details in our lives. But there's some mystics that teach the reverse secret. You know what's with this Uman? People live in Israel, people want to be by Tzadik's Keva, I understand. 30, 40,000 people. Why is that growing? How is that growing? For hundreds of years, there's stories about even Rishonim that used to go to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in Lag BaOmer. They used to climb on their knees up the hill because there was so much holiness they could barely stand. 1, 2, 3. Today it's, 100,000 people? 500,000 people is what it feels like for sure. There's something going on here. And the Siddiqim that hold, it's not that we're just adding these things because we're bored. That I heard a tzaddik say the term once, spiritual shortcuts that are starting to be revealed in our generation. Can you imagine that? Because we can't really give our all to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We want a nice Pesach Seder, but we're just trying to stop the kids from climbing up the walls. My kids are pretty good. And Hashem gives us in our generation spiritual shortcuts. And they become more revealed, and also in a generation that's seeking more and spiritually hungry more and after true, authentic access to real spiritual experience, or at least good fruit and there's a nice company. There are different opportunities open spiritually, and we're drawn towards something we don't even know why. Listen, tonight we're all sitting in this room for the next couple of hours. I don't really know what brought you here, but the doors are locked, so you can't leave. It's in my contract. I get some people are here because they're hungry and the food's good. I get some people are here because they like to be by the postings, all the good stuff that they do. I guess some people are here for singles night. Let's be real. But there is an opportunity. There's an opportunity that goes to the depth of who we are and the depth of what life's about. An opportunity to take our broken pieces and make them whole. An opportunity to find Paris. Paris means fruit. Paris means zivugim. It really does bring you together in a very deep way. Paris is what happens when you take masculine and feminine energy together. Pru Revu, the mitzvah of physical intimacy between man and woman, and the children that produces are called Paris, are called fruit. Paris really means, on the basic Kabbalistic level, the capacity to marry heaven and earth, to marry potential and reality, and to bring out your true, ultimate potential. The reason we are all miserable in life, and we're all pretty miserable in life, is because there's a potential that we feel that we just can't get through. There's a potential we feel we just can't get out. If I'm teaching a class in New York, if I'm teaching a class in Los Angeles, that potential will be, I mean, you know what? You want that job, you want the career, you want the car, and you've got fears, and you've got blocks, you've got anxiety, you don't believe in yourself enough. You know what? That's so superficial. It's also true. It's also true. But there's a deeper potential, an infinite potential, called Tachlis HaChaim. The purpose of your life, and your life is only a small portion of the people in this room, the purpose of Am Yisrael's life. That there's something all of us here were supposed to be doing, which was far more profound and significant than all our daily fears and doubts and worries and concerns. And it says in Kabbalah in very nice sources, it says in Chassidus in very nice sources, tonight is the night you can get that breakthrough. And the way we do that, crazily enough in our tradition, is eating lots of fruit. If ever there's a proof that God loves you, you don't have to do yoga, you don't have to tie yourself into a pretzel, you don't have to eat a pretzel, but not tie yourself in a pretzel. The reason I'm joking at the beginning rather than going in is because I see that I have to earn your trust and I have to earn your attention a little. We're being real together, aren't we, tonight? You have to know your crowd. So we're going to hand out a multiple choice sheet. We have the wonderful, gorgeous music of our Chevra over here. We have good food on the table. I'm happy to share a nice, inspiring story. You can eat some nice food, close your eyes, pretending you're making a blessing with Kavana. Then you can walk around the room, try and meet someone you think is your soulmate, not find anyone and go home depressed. Or we could do something a little deeper together. That involves you willing to go places in your head and heart you may not have been before. Usually the result is pretty awesome stuff, especially a room this size. The more consciousness, the more higher we can get and help each other. The option is totally on the table if there was any other room on the table. But I need you to decide for yourself what you want, because I'm not really here to be a policeman. And I would love to go on a journey together. And I would love to show you what a real Seder means. And I would love you to come on that journey. And I would love to help you, facilitate for you an opening in your heart and your soul. But I'm not here to impose that upon you. I can give you an invitation. I can show you some cool things to do with your mind. And we can see where it gets us. So I'm going to ask for your attention for the next 30 seconds to decide what you want. To choose your own adventure. If you're ready to come on a journey with the power of music, if you're able to come on a journey with the power of expanding your consciousness, if you want to know what the Eitz Adas really is and the Eitz Chaim really is, and not just talk about it as little Devar Torahs, beautiful Devar Torahs, sweet Devar Torahs, a few wonderful gematrias, make us all feel good about ourselves, but really go to the places that these teachings are indicating. We could do that tonight together. We could do that in the next 2 hours. We could let music carry us on its wings to take us higher. And we could let the spiritual energy within the food lift us up, and the power of the evening lift us up, and the power of the unity of this incredibly large group of people that want to come together. We can do that. The invitation's on the table. So I want you to decide. Are you willing to come with? So that means work. It means definitely not chatting. It means, God forbid, turn your cell phone off. There's a first time for everything. People are like, that's too much. That's demanding. Is that what it takes to be a Kabbalist? Because then I don't want to go that far. So you can let you have to get them enjoying your little jokes at the beginning. That's how we are. Might as well make a Chiluk experience for everybody. Okay, Chevra. So opportunities on the table right now. Do you want the Tu B'Shvat Lights Seder? Or do you want the 5-star full course, access all spiritual areas? That one. If you didn't want it, I think you just got outvoted. It's not too late. You can jump out any of the windows. That's what they're there for. If you really want to go in, we want to do something very serious and deep together, raise your hands now. Okay, if you really want in, say I now. Okay, if you're like panicked and overwhelmed, you already wish you didn't come in, like a full refund at the door immediately. Tough luck. Hand over, you feel a bit overwhelmed already. It's just really too intense and you're regretting it. So that's what the wine's for. Drown your sorrows and tell somebody that cares. If I cares, you start your shooting like this usually, so you begin. Okay. If anyone has a l'chaim in front of you, l'chaim. there's a Seder and there's the Seder before the Seder. We don't actually start drinking the wine yet, but you're going to start drinking the wine now, and I think that's going to help. Welcome to the latecomers. Okay, my friends. Let's begin at the beginning. Let's begin at the beginning. I want to begin with a little explanation of what we're doing here. To try and touch on the soul of the matter, the depth of the matter. And I'm going to begin with a story. So the first half you find is boring, and the last bit you'll think is moving. And when you pull back and reflect on it, you're going to say, what the heck did that mean? And then hopefully we'll spend the rest of the evening finding out. This is one of the most classic stories in all of Chassidus. It's one of the most classic stories in all of reality. And because we don't know what the story means, it means we don't know how to lead the lives that we're leading with success, with joy, with confidence, with faith. The story is about a king. Have you heard the story before? The Baal Shem Tov tells the following story. L'chaim. It's the story of a king. And the king loved his subjects very much. He loved his kingdom very much. But he wanted to know, how much did they love him? How much did they care for him? How much did they get who he was, what he stood for, and what he was giving them? So he came up with a test for them. And what he did is he stood in the middle of his castle. He stood in the middle of the extraordinary, glorious place where he lived, and he created 7 walls around it. And he invited one day the entire kingdom. And he put ads, advertisements in the newspapers and social media, however he did it back then or however he do it today. And the announcement said the following thing: there are 7 walls around my castle. Each one is bigger and harder to climb than the last. And everybody is invited to climb over the walls. And what's waiting on the other side of the walls is your heart's desire, in reward for the challenge of climbing the walls. And on the first day of the challenge, millions of people turned out. And they came with chairs and they came with ladders. And they stared at a wall. They thought it would be a little garden wall. The wall was 15 meters tall. It was very overwhelming. Some of them gave up and walked away. And some of them bought ladders and looked chairs and got on piggybacks and climbed on the ladders and chairs and put ladders on the chairs and climbed on piggybacks. And out of those millions, just tens of thousands only climbed over the wall. And on the other side, it was Gavaldi. There were drinks. There was Coca-Cola, sushi and burgers bar, Me'ein Olam Haba. And there's all the food you can eat. And they were giving out 100 shekel bills to whoever wanted them, and people said, this is as good as it gets, as good as life gets. But there's a few people, only a few thousand people, that said, wait a second, after the tens of thousands made it over, it's, well, this is over the first wall, what's over the second wall? And they moved towards the second wall, but Hashem Yerachim was twice as big, and this was no longer an angle, it was straight up, and there were crevices. When they put their hands in crevices, there were knives and blades, and they were bleeding, and most of them gave up. But over the second wall, a few hundred people made it. On the second wall on the other side, what was there? There was 5-course meals and free cars and Ferraris for whoever wanted it, and wonderful real estate and gold coins as much as you could eat. And most of the people said, all my life I wanted real estate and I wanted cars and I wanted to basically eat money. And mamash, they could have access to whatever they wanted, and the people stayed there. But the few people that realized that was over the first wall, and that was over the second wall, what would be over the third wall? And about 100 journeyed over the third wall, and so many didn't make it. On the other side was even more luxury and even more blessing. And so too with the fourth wall, and much less people over the fifth wall, and over the sixth wall. And finally, over the sixth wall, on the other side, there's 2 people that make it. The first person to touch down is this Japanese trained ninja who's trained all his life with backflips and martial arts and incredible mental mastery, and he managed to climb over 100-foot walls and dodge all the bullets and dodge all the arrows that the king's soldiers were throwing at him, and he jumped over the wall with triple somersault and landed on his feet. He's trained all his life for the discipline of this moment. And he touches down like this. And right next to him, as he touches down like this, someone else touches down. It's a 10-year-old girl, and she just goes. And the girl looks at the ninja does a double take of the girl. How did she get here? And they both open their eyes and they look around, and there is the most extraordinary treasure in all of the kingdom. It's all of the gold, it's all of the riches. It's mamish, the king's throne. It's mamish, the king's crown. It's all his jewelry, and everything that's precious was all right there. And the ninja's trained all his life. He just starts crying. He just starts sobbing. He says, "This is it, this is it, this is it." And he grabs his bag. He starts filling them up with gold. And he sits on the throne. And he grabs the crown. And he says, "This is it, this is it." He's so excited. And the girl just looks, and she looks around. And she walks over the money. And she walks straight past the throne. And she just walks past. And the man's like, "Where are you going?" And he's just like, "Where are you going? Are you out of your mind? There's nothing more to get. This is everything the king has. This is everything the king owns. Where are you going?" And she just walks straight past him and starts climbing over the wall. And he says, "Where are you going?" And she says, I don't want the money, and I don't want the throne, and I don't want the crown." And she says, "I'm just the daughter of the king. I just want to see my tattoo." I told you you'd swoon. Finally, miracle of miracles. She touches down after the seventh wall, and there is a man standing before her. He doesn't have a throne, he doesn't have a crown, he has no money. And she looks up and she sees this man, and he looks and sees her, and she runs towards him, and he opens his arms wide and they embrace, and she's home. And they hold each other in such a beautiful way. It's such a moving moment. And he's smiling and she's smiling. And suddenly her smile turns to tears, and her tears turn to sobbing, and she starts crying and crying and crying and crying, getting angry and crying and angry and crying. And he's like, what's happening, my daughter? You made it all the way, you made it all the way, you did it. The factory is yours, Charlie. Why are you crying? Amazing nothing. And he cups her face in his hand, and he looks in the eyes and says, "Why are you crying?" And she looks in his eyes and she says, "Tati, Tati, Father, Father, Abba, Abba. If you love us so much, if you care for us so much, why did you make it so hard to get to? Why did you build so many walls and so many blocks to get to?" And the daddy said, "What walls? What blocks?" She said, "Why did you make it so hard?" And the father said, I don't know what you mean." And he put his hand on her shoulders, and he turned her around, and she looked behind her, and all the walls were gone. There were no walls there at all. And that is the meaning of life. Shir HaMalos. It's beautiful, no? It's schwer, it's tough, no? What does this story mean? I understand we get over the blocks. Many of us don't understand we get over the blocks. Many of the people in this room right now are dealing with blocks and pain. Not just one abusive situation, one terrible challenge, financially, emotionally, religiously. Things they struggle with 1 day, 10 days, 1 year, 10 years, lifetime, and lifetimes. People in this room right now are feeling way past the end of their capacity to deal with those challenges. That I understand what it means that, 1 day we'll overcome our obstacles. one day, maybe with enough therapy, maybe with enough breakthroughs, maybe with enough miracles, the pain will go away. But it's a lot of chutzpah to say it was never there in the first place. It's here now. I'm crying every day now. I'm suffering every day now. Your abuse was nothing. Your financial situation was nothing. That baby's crying about nothing. That's for sure true, but the other's a bit more troubling. This is the meaning of life. This is the meaning of Tu B'Shvat. That's the Tu B'Shvat story. I'm amazed every week what it means to be a rabbi. It's amazing to me. I don't know if this is being recorded. Oh, it's being recorded. Excellent. All the things you're starting to be a rabbi and how irrelevant they are in being a rabbi. All the things you get tested on in being a rabbi. Not that I've started or being tested, but how many halachas, how many gemaras, and the reality is, it's endless amount of people crying and crying and crying, and couples in pain, and people in challenges. And life is incredibly hard. And we live in a duality. The duality we live in is that the time of suffering, and there's a time of reward. There's a time of challenge, and hopefully there's a time of breakthrough. This is reality called the Eitz Hadas Tov V'Ra. That we live in a world of duality. There's physicality and spirituality. There's pleasure and there's pain. There's wealth and there's poverty. There's the haves and the have-nots. And if I know anything from every Hollywood movie, every 3-act structure, is there'll be the guy, and the guy will go through a challenge, and if the guy has enough faith and determination and courage and brute strength, then at the end of the challenge, the end of the second act, all hope seems lost, then what will happen? There'll be revelation, there'll be resolution, there'll be the gift, there'll be the blessing, there'll be the big finale, and everything will be good, and the bad guy will be destroyed, and then the good guy will win. Tu B'Shvat. What day is it? What class am I giving? There's a reason those two are connected. Wait for it. Tu B'Shvat is the darkest time of the year. As we learned from the Mefarshim, from Rashi, from Chazal, it's the time the most rains have fallen. It's the time when the trees have nothing left in them. They have nothing left to give. And it's a time when it's the darkest hour. It's the time when you look around and say, it's cold, I don't want to get out of bed. It's the time when there's no flowers, there's no payos, you can't see the blessing, you can't see the clarity. And what the Sram HaKadoshim teach us is now is the time of the turnaround. Now is the time that the blessing is starting to come through. When you give up and when all hope is lost, that is the moment the turnaround has already begun. Here's the basics before we say the deep stuff. A Jew does an amazing thing. And this thing has a code name, and the code name is Emunah. That at the darkest time of the year, the darkest time always means the time of chitzonius, the time of challenge, the time of ra, the time of nisayon, the time of choshech. V'chasafta es bincha. Darkness always means, in Chassidus and Kabbalah, when the light is withheld. It says on the same language as darkness, it says Avraham Avinu did not hold back his son. He offered Yitzhak even though it's hard. Darkness means a time when we do not have the power, the capacity to perceive the truth, the light. You know that time. I want you to think back. I had last year definitely one of the hardest years of my life. I had challenges I never imagined would come, and they hit me faster than I even could do the work to catch myself before I fell. fell just into pain. And when a person gets to that point, and we all get to that point, and the reason we all get to that point is because life is set up to get you to that point. Hands up in the last 2 years of your life, you can think of a moment like that for yourself. Hands up high, let's see. I pretended to have something, I'm really perfect. I wanted to see if that would... At the time when your eyes can no longer see the truth, a moment before despair, that's the time when a new energy starts to come through. Ki ha'adam eitz hasada. The person is the tree. It's Rosh Hashanah Le'ilan, as we know. It's tree, singular. The Eitz Chaim, the tree of life. The Ari HaKadosh says that on this day, as we eat the fruit, as we're going to learn now, as we're going to experience right now in a very, very deep way, more than intellect, more than information, more than data, but from a different state of consciousness than we usually function. If you're willing to come with me the next few minutes to achieve this, that we've been attacking on this day, this is so epic, it's going to be hard to explain, and we're going to try, and then we're going to give up and just enter into the experience of it. That when a person eats fruit on Tu B'Shvat, do you get the connection yet? In the ultimate darkness, and the ultimate pain, and the ultimate despair, then they fix them attacking the sin that Adam and Rishon done in Gan Eden. That's pretty epic. That's not an insignificant day. That's not an insignificant moment. What was the sin Adam did in Gan Eden? Obviously, this is the deepest of the deep, this is Seder. But to bring it down to our levels, to my level right now. You live in a world of process. And the only way to fight through the darkness is to hope with all your might that at the end of the darkness, good will come, right? That this will not last forever. The night will not last forever. Being single will not last forever. Having no money will not last forever. Being addicted to this thing and trying to get over it will not last forever. And I even seen enough self-help stuff to know I can probably learn something from this. I can probably grow somehow through this. The life is not happening to me, life is happening for me. There's a gift in this and I'm holding on. That is a delusion. It's a delusion. And hold on through the darkness to get to the light is not the ultimate Jewish path in the world. The ultimate Jewish path in the world is to realize the darkness itself is already the light. In Chassidus, the classic line we brought down from Tanakh is we don't see the world as there is this world and then the world to come, because by the tzaddikim, they were able to access the world to come already in this world now. The Eitzadas Tovara talks about process and goal. I go through the darkness, and through the darkness I struggle in pain. At the end of the darkness I get to the light. So I want you to imagine what we're doing right now. The light, the revelation, the gift, whatever you get by going through that challenge, that's called the Paris. There's the man and the woman, they create a child. The creation of a child is called Pru Revu. It's the making of fruit. Fruit is what you get by combining masculine and feminine, Zaka and Nekeva, or V'choshech. The man gives over the seed. The woman takes that seed through a process of darkness. It gets fragmented, it gets fractured, the process of mitosis. And then the end of the birth process, if you come down from space, you didn't know what was happening. The woman is screaming, she's thrashing around the bed, and you think that this is not life, this is death. This woman was about to die. And in that moment, a child is born. In that moment, the goodness comes. So we think the struggle of life is the process to move through the challenges, to overcome the obstacles, to learn and grow to get to the end. But the secret of life, the secret of living in faith, if you realize that the process is only getting you to the goal, and every step of the process is changing you and shifting you and opening you to the goal, then that moment, if you get this deep enough and strong enough, and it hits you in your kishkas enough, then at that moment you access the goal even amidst the process. There are techniques today, not for immediate discussion, where women are taught meditational techniques and they no longer feel pain of birth in the same way. There are people that teach that. That is a palladic thing, not just in consciousness, not just in meditation, but in history that should become possible. The idea, the Shalom teaches, is that I have to begin to focus on the benefit and the pleasure even in the darkness. I have to find what is the spark of good, what is the gift now in the challenge, which opens me up to a new level of appreciation that I'm already at my destination even amidst process. And that's what we call in the deeper sense being metaken the Eitz Hadas and reconnecting it to the Eitz Chaim. Hands up if you're following what I'm saying a little bit even. Okay, it's a little hard to come out. I'm working. Thank you for working with me. This is the basics. The basics. When the sap comes through the tree, and you are the tree, the sap is going to empower the tree to produce the buds and then produce the fruit that it needs to produce. You got that? So in the time of darkness, in the time of despair, at that moment, what's happening is the blessing that already has come through, the turnaround is already coming through. That's happening now, that's happening tonight, that's happening in your consciousness, that's happening in the Olamas right this second. So what a Jew does, which is kind of remarkable, what we're going to do is, we're going to taste the end, we're going to taste the pleasure, we're going to taste the victory, even right now, before the fruit is produced. We're going to focus and meditate so much on the result and the goal, and then see ourselves there. Talk about law of attraction. It's called Koich HaMoshech in Reb Nachman's Lashon language. We're going to focus on the fruit, even though the tree hasn't even produced the fruit, till we taste it, till we celebrate it. And when we make a bracha on the fruit, the Kabbalah says we're actually blessing the angels that produce the fruit with incredible light and influx, that they were going to produce the power of fruit at an even more potent level. So we're empowering the power of fruit and our connection to fruit, and fruit means your success. Fruit means the result. It means the reason I've been single for 25 years is because it's an incredible breakthrough. You're supposed to get incredible insight and revelation yourself. And who the heck knows what that is and what Rabbi can really tell you. But when you get it the other side, you'll go, oh my gosh, that was the ticket I needed. That was the life that I needed. You'll see how it all came together so beautifully and so perfectly. It was such a brilliant setup, and every rejection was exactly to teach me something. But I don't see that now. I'm blind now. I'm in darkness now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to taste the pleasure, the benefit. Even in the darkness, I'm going to celebrate that, and that's going to draw down and empower the fruit to be electrified and revealed later. You guys get that? Cool. That's one. What we're doing is we're crashing the darkness. We're crashing the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra. The Satan wants to take us on a process, and we want to say there is no process before the eyes of Hashem. We're there at the other side already. It's a very deep word. It's a very deep word, a very deep Torah. And when someone says a bracha, we say Amen. Amen is the root of the word Emunah. Emunah basically means, Peva, friends, the capacity to see in the dark. Emunah is the capacity to see in the dark. Emunah is, even when you're in that pain, that certain thing in your life you're struggling with, that you so deeply feel the revelation at the end. That means, think of the ecstasy, this week's parsha, that they felt when the sea split, when they walked on the other side, where they saw all the Egyptians smashed to pieces, exactly midah to all the bad things they did. They got the rechush gadol, all the blessings, all the money, all the revelation, all the spiritual gifts, all the revuah on the other side. Now imagine, rewind a few hours, they are walking into the water, terrified out of their minds. Here come the massacre of the Mitzrayim to kill them, right? And they're walking up to their noses, and they're thinking, we are the biggest Mishugayim in all of history. Now imagine in that moment of darkness, they're about to give up, and all of a sudden they would have a flash to the fruit. Why did they have to walk through that? Why did they have to go on a challenge? Because Hashem said, I showed you the miracles in Egypt. You get that? Yeah. You get that on King of the World? We get that you King of the World. Let's see if you get it here. I get that you get it here, but do you get it here? So if you get it in the heart, and if the heart is the engine of the limbs, then tell your limbs to walk into the water as if the inevitable blessing, the inevitable fruit, the inevitable result is so clear to you, it's such a reality, that you can walk into the water and see it like it's already split. So you understand the capacity to do that means that even in the challenge, they're already on the other side. There is no process. We're already in tachlis. We're already in the end, even in the beginning. So that's what it means to eat fruit on Tu B'Shvat. What we're doing is at the darkest time of the year, when we're in confrontation, when we're in pain, when we're in the sign, when we're in test, we're being so real and profound with the result, the sweetness, the blessing, the goodness, that we're crashing the process. And we're future, time traveling, quantum leaping into the future, and we're bringing that back into the now. Therefore, all space is here, all time is now. There is no longer past, present, and future. The past, the present, and the future are really in the infinite now. And when we do that, when we electrify, then this is what happens. Everything goes after the beginning. When this blessing, when the saraf and the sap, when the energy is coming into you, to produce the fruits, how you fix your intent when it first comes in will empower its potency and capacity to give you fruit and blessing in the weeks to come. So we're going to feel and experience so deeply when we begin our meditation what's happening with this fruit, what's happening in our lives, that it's going to empower us to produce and to grow and to be fruitful and multiply in ruchnis and gashmis. And this is called Emunah. Emunah is nothing else than the capacity to crush the difference between the challenge and the result and experience them so now in the present that even in the darkness it's like light. Even in the night it's like day. Listen very carefully to this, Cheva. The root of the word Emunah is the word Amen, right? The Kabbalistic source of the idea of the infinite light and the infinite potential is the Shem Havaya. We all know the Shem Havaya. Yud and Hey and Vav and Hey. Numerical value 26. The key word that's used to describe Hashem's expression, not his infinite potential, but his expression, his manifestation, his revelation is the Shem. I'll say it once to be clear. Adonai. Aleph Daled Nun Yud. Numerical value 65. When we put together, as we all know, the gematria, 65 and 26 of these two names, the potential meets the reality, we get the number 91. 91 is the Amen, is the root of Emunah. Emunah means the potential and the reality, the challenge and the result, the struggle and the reward, all combined together. 91, as we all know, is the numerical value of Ilan, of tree. Because Ilan is the infinitely deep roots, the seed, the potential, fully grown, fully expressed until it goes all the way from inner potential into full expression and revelation of fruit. You got that? It says, you can see this in Chumash, you can see this in Rashi, you can see this in Kabbalah, a very, very deep Torah, that before the Ched of Adam Rishon, there was no distinction between tree and fruit. You could taste the fruit in the tree. You could taste the fruit in the tree. What does that mean? Doesn't mean you get more bang for your buck in produce. What it means is that you could taste the reward and the blessing even in the process. Even from the seed, even from the beginning. And all the way through, even to the growing, the whole time you so much perceive the depth and the beauty and the benefit and the revelation. It was apparent to your perception, to your consciousness the whole time. That's called the Eitz Chaim. That's true life. What is true life? Where everything that is coming at you, you see is so clearly for you. It's so much benefit and good that the ultimate litmus test of Emunah, what's the ultimate litmus test of Emunah? I'm afraid to say this, I don't want to offend anyone. There's lots of fun people you can meet, and they all say, I have a lot of Emunah, I believe in God, I believe in God. And that's true until something challenging happens in their life. And it's possible that they can look and feel something like everybody else. Because we believe in Hashem here, but we don't believe in Hashem here. Now a word from my sponsor. And therefore you say, have Emunah, have Emunah. It's a very nice thing to say, have faith. What's the litmus test that someone has faith? You know what it is? That they have a black hat. What did everyone laugh about? I don't really know. The litmus test that the person has faith is they live with simcha. Simcha. Through the challenges, through the joys, there's simcha. You can go through suffering in your life but find simcha. Not because you know one day this will end. Unfortunately, I meet a lot of people that they go through challenges in life. You say, how are they? Go, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. Everything's great, it's really, really great. Baruch Hashem, Baruch Hashem. And what they're saying is, get me out of here, send help now. If you're holding in the end, already at the beginning, already in the darkness, already in the pain, then the first step is you find the good now, you find the benefit now. I get this is easier said than done. And I want to tell you the ultimate secret the Baal Shem Tov teaches about Emunah, faith. Faith is not a belief. It's not something that God's existence gets proved to you because you did a course and they give 18 excellent proofs. It's not something that can be disproved to you. Faith is not something you understand. Faith is a state of consciousness. It's not something you understand, it's something you access. The Maharal, the Malbim says, Ki ha'adam eitz hasada. A person is a tree, but we are an upside-down tree. Even when Rabbi talks about this in a beautiful way, I'll tell you what he says. He says we're an upside-down tree. What does it mean? It means a Jew lives in the physical world, but our roots are connected in our source world. And what gives us power is our consciousness is more connected to our source. And in our source, we see the divinity, we see the connection. How do you deal, Rabbi, realistically with that painful thing that's happening? How do you really justify it, rationalize it, redefine it, reframe it is the cool word? The answer is anytime you try and reframe a challenge, I promise you, the challenge will come back much harder than your reframing capacity. Hands up if you found that in your own life. Fine. So what you have to do is shift the playing field. You have to move to a deeper state, a non-rational state, a super-rational state. And in that place, even in the darkness, you are outside space and time, lamala min zman, and there you can already perceive and sense and taste the blessing and taste the goodness that's not just waiting for you in the future, it's already there right now. So food is a very powerful thing. Look at the food on the table. That's the end game. That's pleasure. Pleasure is the end. Called tanug, pleasure. It's sweet. I understand Coca-Cola is sweeter, but they didn't have Coke when they came up with these Yom Tovim, so just bear with us. Life is supposed to have tanug. Mitzvahs are supposed to give us tanug, pleasure. If a person keeps mitzvahs and they don't have ultimate pleasure, then they may not be keeping the mitzvah right, says the Svar. The fruit on the table in front of you has a peel. Do you see that peel? Perhaps you can't see it, but you've probably seen it before. The peel represents the blocks that you have to go through. It's called clippers. HaKlippa kod melapri. The blocks that you have to go through to get to the result, to the blessing, to the release, to the healing, to the light, to the pleasure, to the goodness that you seek in life. And fruit begins by having to strip off the peel, strip off the shell of the nut, to then get to the reward. And you're going to see also in front of you on that plate, on the table, there's 3 kinds of fruit. And this is brought down for hundreds of years in the Seder of Tu B'Shvat. There's a kind of a fruit which has a strong peel on the outside. There's a kind of challenge in life where you're going to have to overcome a lot of blocks, a lot of resistance, to even get a little taste, a little blessing, a little goodness, a little sweetness. You know there's challenges in your own life? You've dealt with them, you're still dealing with them. They go on a long time. They've got strong blocks, strong walls, strong resistance to get that. And then there's another kind of fruit. As it says in the Kitvei Ari, the kind of the fruit where you can taste it, well, I don't know, it could be a plum, an apricot. You can get to the fruit, but on the inside there's something which is not so edible. And there's a third kind of fruit which is kind of miraculous. And the third kind of fruit is when you can eat the whole fruit all the way through, that everything in it is edible. We're going to do a Tu B'Shvat Seder right now. And the way we're going to do this is I'm going to tell you what the Seder is. And then we're going to do the Seder without me having to tell you what the Seder is. Because I hate long Seders with a lot of talking. Especially when I have to do the talking. I'm going to tell you what the Seder is about. I'm going to blow you out of your bodies and put you in a deep state, following the instructions of the Baal Shem Tov and the Piazetz and the Rabbi and other Tzaddikim. And then we're going to move through the process. I'll talk you through it in real time. Hold off on the fruits if you can handle that emotionally until we begin. If you can't, enjoy, bevakasha. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to get into a deep state of Devakas with the help of our musical friends, like we're prophets, using the same techniques that they used at the beginning of their process of Yeshiva Das of Devakas. And I'm going to tell you what the process is, what the Seder is, what the procedure is. And if you're brave, or crazy, or both, I want you to try this with me. It will only last about half an hour, give or take 3 hours. This is what happens with the Seder. Listen carefully. There were 4 glasses of wine. Yes, you heard me. 4 glasses of wine. I'm going to tell you the practical elements we're going to do, and I'm going to give you the background behind that. Number 1, the first glass of wine is purely white wine. Or grape juice for cowards. But I'm going to go half-half because I have to be speaking through this. The second, don't worry yet, we're going to give you lots of time to do it. Just open up your hearts and your minds and keep paying attention before we begin. It's going to start shortly. The second glass, anyone know this? Is white wine with a few drops of red wine. The third cup is half white, half red. The fourth cup is all red. So we're going white, white with a little red, half white, half red, and all the way to red. We're transitioning from transcendence to the most physical, tangible parts of our body and our challenges. We'll come back to that in a second. That's number 1. Then when we do that, after that's what we're going to be doing throughout the show, so to speak. There'll be time to prepare in a second. Stay with me. That's number 1. But there's something else that happens in between. What we're going to be doing is having the first white wine. How many of you learned a little Kabbalah Chassidus before? Hands up high. How much language of this stuff do you want me to explain to you? Everything. Everything. I wasn't joking about the 5 hours then. I'm going to drop into this. Listen very carefully. I'll get a little scientific with you all. I'll use the reference points of psychology as the Baal Shem Tov teaches us to do to understand the model, understand the system. Here we go. The capacity to see that there is no process, to see that there is no blocks, to see that everything is revelation, is a trick of perception. Do you know that right now you are filled with incredible spiritual energy? Do you know right now there's electric energy in the room? Do you know right now the food in front of you and everything around you is electrified with transcendent light? And most of you can't see that, but you could see that if you knew how to access that part of your consciousness. The capacity to live in that part of your consciousness is a capacity to access something called Chachma, something called Atzilus. There's 4 worlds, if you will, in the spiritual world. There is the world of Asiya, the physical world, the world of Yetzirah, the emotional world, if you will, the world of Bria, which is sometimes called the intellect and parallel to human consciousness, and then there's the super consciousness called the world of Atzilus. And in the world of Atzilus, in the world of unity, in the world of meditation, in the world of super consciousness, in the world of Dveikus, you are experiencing already right now super higher consciousness of light, of clarity, of infinite truth. It's already looking at that food. It doesn't even see the peel. It just sees divine light. Even when you taste the food, you feel incredibly blessed and infinitely connected to Hashem, and you don't even taste it as food, because in that state, you've already accessed true higher consciousness. That world of Atzilus, that state of Chachma, is represented by the first cup of wine, because it's white and it's pure. But white is not just pure. White is different to all other colors, that all colors are included already within it, right? So it's purity, because purity just doesn't mean I'm separate from physicality, because all the spectrums of the bandwidth of light are included already within white light. It's the infinite light, the Or Ein Sof within us. So the first cup will open us up to that state with a few meditational tricks I'm going to teach you in real time. Number 1. And then once we're in that state, we're going to partake from whatever we have in our plate, but we're going to get to it shortly, don't panic, assuming you haven't eaten it during this long, prolonged introduction. Whatever we have, the 7 fruits, the Shivas Minim of Eretz Yisrael. And the Shivas Minim represents the 7 elevated emotional states of the highest spiritual state. I understand that's very elongated kind of language. But you have in this desire, in this life, something that messes you up, and they're called our heart. And the heart loves, and it wants to love, but often it can love in a destructive way. Often it can desire negative things. Often it can love the wrong person the wrong way. But as Jews, we don't say negate the heart. As Jews, we say elevate the heart. What is the good capacity to love? What is the infinite capacity to connect, to unify, to bond, to build relationship in the highest, deepest, most gorgeous, rich way? And then there's the capacity of gevurah, of fear, of the terrible fears we have. All our issues in life, Israel of Nachman says, 99% of our issues in life are fears, blocks that we have. But the fear is also a capacity of awe. Fear is also the capacity to create boundaries, healthy boundaries. And then there's Teferes, and there's Netzach, Hoig, Yesod, and Malchus. There's Shivas Aminim. We have the white wine, we elevate up into higher consciousness, and then we eat from the 7 fruits which connect us to the higher levels of our soul. And then in that state, we're going to do the second thing. And this is where the fun begins. We're going to deal with the most physical challenges in our lives. This is what this forum teaches to do. The most physical challenges in life are the biggest blocks you have. The biggest physical obstacles that you have. And this is symbolized by the fruit. The fruit that has the hard shell on the outside and the fruit on the inside. And in a state of higher elevated consciousness, I don't know if we're going to pull this off, but we're sure going to try. We're going to pull onto our plates the nuts or things. I think they're here. I hope they're here. Rabbi, show me that they're here. Do we have things like this? He got the nuts without the shells. There's walnuts and almonds without the shells. Without the shells. Excellent. That is so deep. The Rabbi is removing all your blocks already. They're gone. That's exactly the Torah. There's nothing left to do. Thank you. That is whole. That's so holy. This is the holiest Yiddish that I've ever been at. Then we're going to put those nuts in cups and break the cups. Interpretive Kabbalah piece coming soon. We're going to work around that in a very creative way, which I'm going to generate abracadabra as I'm speaking to you about something else. Great. And that is called, listen very carefully, why can't we perceive the goodness right now? Why can't we receive the blessing right now? Why can't you receive the light of revelation right now? Why do your challenges feel totally overwhelming? Everyone right now choose the biggest challenge in your life which totally feels overwhelming. And stand up and tell it to everyone in the room. Go. You know, if you could, you'd be a lot happier. We're so embarrassed about our challenges. We're so pained that we have challenges. That becomes greater than the challenge itself, and that's a long Torah, but it's also true. I'll try and say something deep, and I'll try and say it fast, and we'll see if we get it together. You can't live with Devakas, you can't live with higher connection, you can't live with Atzilus, you can't live with the Eitz Chaim, because there's 3 blocks you have in the way. Your beliefs and false beliefs, your emotions and desires, and destructive emotions and desires, and sabotaging emotions and desires, and the physical habits you've trained in your body, the illness in the body, the bad habits in your body. The body is aligned with the world of Asiya, the physical world of Guf. That's the hardest shell that you have to break. The emotions, they can be half good and half bad. And then the second blocks we have to break. They're the fruits where we can eat some of the good at the beginning, but the tough stuff that we have to throw out is in the middle. That's the world of Yetzirah. The third level is the world of Bria, our beliefs. The intellect is powerful, the intellect is strong, it has a lot of incredible understanding and clarity and high conscious and mindful consciousness that we can get to, but it's full of distorted beliefs about ourselves, about the world, of demurriness, of imagination, that we tell ourselves that aren't true, that we're not worthy, that we're going to fail, that we're going to be abandoned, that there's something wrong with me. My rationalizations and justifications I make about myself and the world. But my mind is strong enough, I can overcome those 3. That's the secret of the Ola. That's why food can't be eaten to the 4th year. The Ola is also the word for what we take off the bris. Rabbi says that this night is tikkun of Yesod, of the sexual energy, of the connective energy. If you're understanding anything I'm saying, this is what I'm saying. Are you ready? The reason we can't consciously access the capacity to feel the good and the pleasure and the fruit, even in the darkest night of winter, is because we're overcome with our physical blocks and our habits and our emotional desires which sabotage us and all those beliefs. So what we're going to do is go through each one and take off those peels and find the goodness and go higher and higher until we can access the light of Atzilus, the light within us. Hands up if you're following what I'm saying. Hands up high. Let's see those hands. How many of you are not following what I'm saying, honestly? Fine. Have another glass of wine and we'll make it easier. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to say this fast, see if you get it. The white wine knocks us into Atzilus, highest consciousness. And in that state, after we have the holy fruits of Eretz Israel, we connect to the power of the land, we've accessed the highest, deepest part of our soul power and our transformative divine energy. Then what we're going to do is leverage that to come down and smash our biggest blocks. And we're going to do that by breaking through the shells of the proverbial fruits that we don't quite have, to be fixed shortly. Great. Then what we do is we drop from super consciousness, the first white cup of wine, into reason and intellect, and the mastery of reason and intellect. And that is called white with a few drops of red. That is the world of intellect. That is the world of Bria. And we're going to use that world of intellect to master our emotions. And that is the second fruit. And the fruit that we can eat the outside of, what would that be right now? The carrot? Is that a carrot? Is that what that is? A date. Great, a date. That we can eat a little bit of the date, where we can access that clear. We're going to have certain intents. You're going to see we how to strip us of those negative emotions using our intellect. Then we're going to have the third cup. And the third cup is, who remembers what the third cup was? Anyone remember? Great, half and half. We're going to use our power of the emotion to transform our intellect. That's very, very deep. We understand what it means to use my soul power to overcome my body power. Maybe we understand with CBT, which is not what it means, but to use our intellect to refine our emotions. But we're going to use our emotions. See, that's the clippers that have to be removed. Then we're going to use our emotions to refine our intellect. The reason you believe and think what you believe and think is not because it's the truth. It's because you emotionally compel yourself to believe that opinion. Most people do not have the capacity to believe what they believe because it's true. There are many times you will see in your own life that people around you are being nice to you now. When confronted with something is true, which they're not emotionally ready to hear, will not be able to receive that information. And have you seen that in your own life? Sometimes, I don't want to get into the politics of it, you see in the Me Too movement, all these kind of things, there's people that are aware of bad things going on and they're unable to act to help others, even though they may care for others, even though they may disagree with what's going on, because they're afraid of consequence. And they can't even acknowledge the truth of the challenge of the situation. They can't even acknowledge that this person needs help or support. When your heart is pure, your mind becomes pure. When you overcome your fear and your doubts, your ego and your expectation, then suddenly truth becomes much more accessible. People that learn Torah but don't work on their heart will never access truth with all the Torah they learn. That's not my insight. The Baal Shem Tov says that. If you saw Salanta says that. The Gemara says that. The Gemara says, how's this an intense thing to say? That Torah can be at Sam Mavis or at Sam Chaim. Learning Torah can be an elixir of life or an elixir of death. Depending on what? Where your heart is when you learn it. When your heart is open and connected and wants the truth, then you can understand the truth. And the final stage is we take red. Because when my soul is connected and my mind is pure and my heart is pure, the final cup is red, my friends. Red represents the physicality. What does red represent in Torah? Why are traffic lights red? Why is sexuality is always represented by the color red? It's well known, not just in halacha, but even in scientific studies about how much red stimulates the desire. It's a very deep thing. It's not really able to get into right now. But the basic idea is red is the first color that the soul interfaces with when it hits the physical world. Because the soul is in the blood, says the Torah. And it's interesting that traffic lights should intuitively say stop, because the blood says to the soul, right, your full expression cannot be revealed here. And it's going to hold back on its spiritual capacity until we can purify our body, until we can purify our heart, until we can purify our mind. Then the sap, the blessing can run in, and then I am open to the doors of my perception, and I'm able to see the goodness even in the challenge. In fact, I no longer see the challenge, I only see the blessing, the revelation, even Basher Husham, even when I'm in the challenge. Because what blocks me from seeing good, what blocks me from seeing light, is my false beliefs. Everything's bad, I'm going to go down, everything's a struggle, I'm overwhelmed. Is my fear, is my ego, is my lust. Desire destroys your capacity to perceive the truth. Desire destroys your capacity to perceive the truth. Is my habits. I know I should be doing it, but I'm so ingrained in my body, I'm so sick. The mystics say that physical sickness comes from a lack of faith in the body. that the panic, the fear, the anxiety ingrains itself in the body to the point that my habits are sabotaging me from revealing my soul. So once I purify on all those levels, then even the red, even the body, even the blood, even sexuality, even money, even ego, the mystics say, can be used for good, for revelation, for holiness. They become a makava, and therefore the physical world itself, the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, becomes itself a vessel and a kli and a revelation of the Eitz Chaim. There is no difference between the spiritual world and the physical world, and that's when we marry heaven and earth. We marry Hashem Havaya and Shem Andus, and we become an Ilan, where the details, where the roots are full expressions and revelations, and then I'm left with a world of fruit, a world of pleasure, a world of light, a world of goodness. And when I overcome the three blocks, the three worlds that were created by the falling of the Eitz Hadas Tov Ra, then I can purify my body, purify my heart, purify my mind, and live and re-enter into a full consciousness that everything is Chaim, everything is Chias, everything is Tav, everything is Bracha, and the connection point between heaven to earth, between all those dimensions, is called Amunah. Amen. Questions? Do people have a pen and paper? Hands up if you have a pen and paper. Okay. If you have a pen and paper, pull it out. Does anyone have any questions right now? What are we eating? Oh, you're such a deep neshama. That was so beautiful. I'm sorry, it did actually say that you should have eaten before you came. It did say that on the... And the answer is about 10 minutes. Any other questions? Perhaps connected to the night?
When are we drinking?
Very soon. Here's the prep work. You ready? The prep work goes like this. Number one, I need everybody to write down the side of the page 1, 2, 3, 4. The numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the information you're going to need to do the work we're all about to do. Number one, I want everybody right now to think of a moment in your life where you felt incredible love. Ideally that someone loved you. It could be God, it could be a person, it could be your partner, it could be a parent, it could be anyone, anywhere. Of incredible love where you felt tremendously loved. Either they loved you or you loved them. I just want you to write 1, 2, or 3 words about remember that moment. Number 2. Hands up if you've done number 1, you've got it. If you do not have a pen and paper, I want you to choose it clearly in your mind. I'm going to use some techniques that the Piazetsu brings down, the Baal Shem Tov brings down, the Sefer Kohenim brings down, to try and help this group of people tonight who are ready to do this, to move beyond their Das Tachton, the lower consciousness, their intellect and their mind, to a deeper place, to be able to draw down the sap, the chiyus and the blessing, to overcome the 3 external worlds, to enter into a place of true fruit, of true taste, of true connection. I need your help to do this in the next 5 minutes. I'm going to give you some information that you need to access this place. I'm going to talk you through it, and you're going to do it together. I don't know what will happen, but if we're open to something extraordinary, we just may merit it. Hands up if you've written the first one. We've got it in your mind very clearly. Love. One time you felt real love in life. Hands up high. Hands up if you do not have a reference point for that. Okay? Keep thinking of it. See if you can find it. Number 2. I want you right now to write a second reference point right now of a time in your life where you felt tremendous love. Another example. Another example of deep love, of deeply appreciated, deeply connected to another person, Hands up if you got the second one. Hands up if you got the second one. Hands up if you do not have a second one. Fine, I appreciate your honesty. See if it comes to you. Number 3. I want you to think of a moment in your life where you felt tremendous, and this, not everyone may have this, but I want you to find a reference point if you can in your mind right now, of tremendous holiness. It could be by you at the Katz, the Western Wall, by Kivrei Tzadikim, could be a chuppah, could be a Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur. Something where you're standing in front of a tzaddik, an elevated soul, where you're reading something holy, where you're staring at the sunset. I don't know what it was for you, listening to a nibbon, and suddenly you felt so transcended and so connected, whatever magic happened to you. I say this sincerely. If you do not have a reference point in holiness, but for some pill you've dropped, some drug a person's taken, and they had something expansive and they had something profound, take it and use it as a reference point right now. If that's what you have, use what you have, and let's take it higher. Hands up if you have one of those reference points now. Fine. Number 4. I want you to think of a time in your life, the last one, of awe. Something that left you truly awestruck. For some people it's camping or hiking in the desert, and lying on their back under 1,000 stars, 1,000,000 stars, 1,000,000,000,000 stars, and they have that one moment. It's not just staring at a bunch of lights in the sky, of realizing they are so small and the universe is so infinite, and they feel so awestruck in awe, somewhere in nature, somewhere where you just felt awe, how extraordinary reality is, how infinitely small it is, and how we are, and how infinitely huge Hashem is and the world is, where you were truly awestruck. Write that down, number 4. Hands up if you got that. Okay, I want you to look down your page, look over 1, 2, 3, 4. I want you to remember it. You go, you can do it. Great. That's the first setup we need. The next setup we need is the following things, my friends. I want you to write under that a separate section. I want you to write 1, 2, 3. Number 1. What is the biggest block holding you back in your beliefs? That you believe about yourself, that you believe about the world, that you believe about life and reality. The deeper you go, the realer you are right now, the more powerful the result. Of course, the biggest blocks we have in our beliefs, we're usually not even aware we have because we're so bound to them. So find the courage and ask for the blessing and see if you can find one. Hands up if you know what one is. Okay, write it down, number 1. Number 2, what is the biggest emotional block you have on a consistent level? Anger, fear, anxiety, ego. What sabotages you most of the time? What's that thing you've worked through for so long, and you can't get it? You can't crack it. Be clear, don't be general, be very specific, have the courage to be specific. It takes great courage to be specific. Hands up if you've got it. Would anyone dare enough just to say what their one thing is? Yes?
Fear of not being loved or approved of.
A fear of not being loved or?
Or approved of.
Approved of. A fear of rejection, a fear of not being able to connect. What's that?
All the same, yeah.
Thank you for saying that. You're the only one that has that, of course. This whole thing's just an intervention to get you to say that. Anyone else care to share one? Anybody else care to share one? Yes, courageous woman at the back. Easier to ask than it is to answer. What's that?
Fear of doing the wrong thing.
You know what will happen when you do the wrong thing?
Like everyone will stare at me like now.
Right. So they've done it already. You don't have to be afraid of it anymore.
Right, I'm done.
Wow, you're healed. End of the night for you. Fear of doing the wrong thing. You know what Nachman says? You know the main mechanism of the Yetzer Hara? It's an amazing, amazing idea. Rav Nachman says the Baal Davar, the Satan, the ultimate negative force in the world, you know how it trips us up? He's called the Baal Davar in the mystical language. The Baal Davar means the master of the thing. He's the master of the thing. He says the ultimate evil force in the world is codenamed the master of the thing. What the heck is the thing? What Kabbalistic insight is that? Think of the desires you've pursued in life that have messed up your life the most. Think of the things you are afraid of doing the wrong thing that have messed up your life the most. You know what you're really afraid of? The thing. Have you ever pursued something with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your money, your resources, and finally got it and realized you didn't even want it? If yes, say yes. If you finally got it, why weren't you happy with it? You know why? Because you didn't really want that. You know what you wanted? The thing. What are you afraid will happen to you if you finally mess up? What are you afraid will happen to you? No. I get what you're doing. Fear works the reverse. When you're afraid, if I mess up, you know what's going to happen to me? That thing is going to happen to me. What's going to happen to you? I didn't think you know? No, I don't know. Why don't you tell me? You know what happens when you really mess up? Not very much. If you really messed up and everyone looked at you, and you'd be like, oh, there it is then, I guess they looked at me. And then people are very bored, so then they'll look at their WhatsApp, and then they'll look at their watch, and then they'll wonder when the food is coming, and you'll be like, that's what kept me trapped in my heart for a decade, for decades. We are afraid that the thing will happen. If I would say if you totally messed up, what would happen? You will find that nothing so bad could happen that you couldn't get out of bed the next day, but the thing that terrifies us is that thing will happen. And when I pursue that thing for 10 years, for 20 or 30, and I finally get it, the thing that I wanted is not really that thing, because I don't know what it was. So he says that the Baal Davar runs through the marketplace and runs up to every person. You know what it says to every person? It says, I've got the thing. Do you want the thing? And you go, wow, what's in the hand? And he says, the thing. And he says, come with me. And he leads you through the market. 10, 20, 40 years of your life. Or he says, if you do that thing, I'm going to throw this at you. And you go, no, yes, here it comes, here it comes. And he opens up his hand one day when you're 70 years old. You know what's in it? No thing. And you go, where did it go? That's the peel. That's the peel. That's what keeps us away from the fruit. That's the fear that keeps us away from the fruit. That's the desires that keep us away from the fruit. We have to pierce through it. We have to see what's in it. Last thing, number 3. Number 3. Physical block. In your life, in your body. That thing that you just can't get out of because your life has been set up that way. That thing that's in your body that you're so conditioned physically. In your actions. Everyone write down Facebook and social media, and you're lying if you don't. But for some people, I appreciate it's worse. Whatever the addiction is, whatever the physical response is, whatever that life situation. Okay, Rabbi, I get that I can change my mind, I can get that I can change my heart, but that life situation is just a reality. As if there's a reality outside of Hashem. It's just a peel that needs to be stripped off. And I'm out of the darkness. I'm already in the light through the eyes of Emunah, through the eyes of seeing the connection between heaven and earth, through the eyes of the Yetz Chaim, through the eyes of tasting the food even in the darkness. And I crashed the distance and realized they were all one right now. Hands up if you've got number 3. Okay, fine. Anyone care to share?
Wait, I have a question.
Before we get to questions. When you ask someone to share, they'll go terrified. You have to sit there quietly for 30 seconds and to process that. When you ask a question, they go, phew, that's a relief. Becky?
I feel like my gluten thing, my celiac thing, is a physical thing that's very spiritually connected, and it has to do with my anxiety.
How do you connect the two?
I'm not sure. I've been working for the last 10 years to try to connect them.
Right.
I feel like I probably shoved down a lot of my own personal insecurities and anxieties, and they've been manifesting in my gut, and that's how they now show up physically.
How many people, as a quick show of hands in the room, have been dealing with some kind of physical ailment for multiple years that they haven't been able to shake off? Keep your hands up high. How many of those people are convinced it's physical and not emotional? Keep your hands up. How many of those people sense that the physicality is deeply connected to the emotional? Put your hands up. So Becky made a big leap that there's probably a connection between the two. The holy works of our tradition teaches that everything that happens in our body is an expression of what's happening in our emotions and our soul. I've seen miracles happen in my own life of working with students who had, one example is a person that had MS, and we were able to teach them how to bring Devekus and awe into the guf and get out of a wheelchair in real time before our eyes. So I'm past the point of thinking that maybe it's just physical. Suddenly a doctor in the room that could talk to that point in a very deep way. It's not so easy to all the people all the time, but there's something going on in the connection between the two. It's all about consciousness. The whole game is consciousness. And the whole game is to go deep enough to understand what is the clipper, and what is the peel, and what is the block, and what is the doubt. That I've convinced myself is so real that I won't let myself taste the food on the other side. Questions?
What's the relationship between accepting a physical disability as a tikkun, something to work through, something to accept this as Hashem's will, inheritance from past life, whatever it is, and everything you've just said?
Great. Very simple. The first step is acceptance, and then the second step is to turn it around.
I think I can.
There's a long, deep conversation to go into. I'm happy to have that. I don't know if right now is the time, but we'll pick that up soon. Accepting it as part of the challenge, and then acceptance and overcoming it to realize that they're not opposites is the secret of consciousness that we need to overcome these things. My friends, are you ready? Can everyone stand up for me for a second? Without sitting down, because you need to stand up, I need everyone to, number one, fill their cups with white wine, 100% white wine, or if need be, also white grape juice, or a nice combination of them both. Okay, at the same time right now, I want everyone to look around for any of the fruit of the Shiva Saminim that you see in front of you and put that on your plate. That could be pita, wheat, that could be olives, that could be dates. I think that's our selection tonight. Raisins are good? That's a good one. Okay. I hope you've got your white wine, as much wine as you can handle. The wine helps in this avoda.
Great, thank you.
Now that you've got that, I want you to look for the next thing. I want you to look to a fruit or a nut that has a hard peel on the outside. I see how it's all being prepared. Ideally something that hasn't even been opened, but we're going to pretend that it's great to have it already open. So you have white wine right now, and then you have anything from the fruit of Eretz Israel. And then you have something with a hard shell. Now I'm just making this up, and those that choose to go with me may have fun. If there's a plastic cup on the table that has not been used, you could take a nut that usually has a shell and put it in that cup. You could take a nut that's usually in a shell, and you could put it in a cup. Raise your hands if you've done those steps. Raise your hands high if you've done those steps. If you've done those steps, raise your hand. Raise your hand, okay? Great, you can sit down right now then. Okay, I need everyone to sit down in the chairs. Oh, that's pretty cool. I need everyone to turn off their cell phones. I need everyone to sit down in their chairs and turn off their cell phones. And we're going to begin a process together right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll tell you what I've learned. It's hard to do a big Tu B'Shvat Seder with a lot of people. A lot of people especially don't know each other. They're here for different reasons. All good reasons, but different reasons. But nevertheless, the Tu B'Shvat 2018 this year, we're all here in this room right now. Some of us are into meditation, some of us are not into meditation. Some of us know what that word means, some of us don't actually know what that word means, some of us want to find out, some of us don't want to find out. This is what I want to say to you, and I say this with all my heart. As we sit here in this room, there is an energy coming through from the highest spiritual world, from the world of Atzilus down to the world of Bria, Yetzirah, Asiya, into your consciousness. And the truth is, right now, I want you to be clear what you're struggling with in life. And I want us to connect together right now with a commitment that for the next 20 minutes as we do this exercise, that we give it a full mind and heart together out of respect for every one of us that wants to try and access something deeper. Every one of us has paid hard and money to be in the room. All of us who are in some way searching for connection. Whether you meditate or don't meditate, you You need to know there's something in your consciousness which is more powerful and potent than you are conscious of. And from that, if you can access this together tonight, tremendous goodness can come. And I don't know how to say this to you in a deep enough way, in a real enough way. Come with us now. Try it. Try it. Within a few minutes from now, Doniel Katz will have gone. There'll be food and wine on the table. And if it was so painful and terrible, we'll forget about it and drown our sorrows in wine or something. And some of you are sitting there going, how long does this last? The answer is forever. But try stepping into it with us together. I'm in my joking zone because I realize we're not all here yet. So it's my way of kind of trying to connect or reach out, be real. Step one is I want to teach you a trick that the Baal Shem Tov teaches, a trick called the Vekas. It's not really a trick for some people, it's one of the most powerful, beautiful experiences of their life. For some people, everything they've looked for in their life, it was not really out there, it was really in the here, but they never knew how to get it. For some people, they tried drugs, for some people, they tried all kind of weird things. I say with love and sincerity, if you don't want to take part of this, I totally get that. Out of respect for all the good people in the room that pay money to be here, maybe step into the shul outside and talk. That's what shuls were made for. The laughter brings us together. It's a good start. I'm going to talk you through something now. This is not a guided visualization, but I'm just using my awareness of the mystical writings, understanding of consciousness, to take you to a place within you, to try and experience something more. There are some things I may say to you that you may not understand why I'm saying that. You may go, that's pretty weird. And I'm asking you just to play. Some really wonderful things happen in life when we learn just to kind of play and try. You don't need to have something supernatural happen. You're not a failure if it doesn't work for you. I think you're a failure if you don't try, if you're afraid just to explore. But do what you need to do. First, we need to focus our mind, focus our heart. I want everyone to take the white wine in their hand. I want everyone to look at that wine. This comes from Eretz Israel. You know what a complete miracle it is, we're all sitting here in Eretz Israel, connected to the land, different kippahs and no kippahs, and different paths and journeys from almost the four corners of the world. And we're drinking something that came from how many people died that we can sit here today. How many people struggled to build this land, to drain the swamps, to plant the vineyards, to make the land fruitful again. That is insane how extraordinary it is, this little cup of wine we're holding in our hands. And there's a blessing in this wine. Nichnas yain yetzei soy. Now when you take down that wine and your heart opens up a little and your mind opens up a little, let's use that and ride that wave to go beyond mind and heart. So I want everyone to focus on this drink as an introduction to a deeper place we can get to, not just individually, but together with the power of the consciousness in the room together. I want you to think of the land and the energy of the land invested in this drink. We're going to make a bracha. When you drink it, close your eyes and feel its warmth in your body. Be conscious of the happiness that opens up in your heart. And be aware that's what it was created to do. To open our hearts together and our minds together, Let me emphasize together. How awesome that the fruit of the Lamb will open us together. When you're ready, say a slow, beautiful blessing. Take down that drink. We'll begin. Here we go. Sit back in your chair. We are here together now. Close your eyes. Trust that we're in a good place. A safe place. All those things you're thinking about to do when you get out of here, to do tomorrow, they're going to be okay, I promise you. Anything you're still carrying from before, a few minutes, a few hours, a few years, I promise you can come back to that later. I want you to think right now of the 4 memories you chose of love, of another love, of holiness, of awe. I want to teach you right now how to have perfect concentration in a way that opens your minds and hearts. You're going to begin to think of the first one. If you have 3, use 3. If you have 2, use 2. Whatever you've got in mind is perfect and all you need, let's use it together. What you're going to do is you're going to take the first memory of love. You're going to think about it with all your heart. You're going to watch it like a movie. With all its details and colors, you're going to engage your senses. What was that moment like? What was that memory like? Watch it like a movie. See colors, add details, zoom in, zoom out. Find the most amazing and potent moments where that love hit your heart deep. Rewind and play, rewind and play. And after you do that for 6, 7, 8, 9 seconds, I want you to then jump by yourself to the second one. Same thing, colors, smells, details, sounds. Watch it and rewind. Find the story and find the most potent moment and watch it again. After 7, 8, 9 seconds, you're going to leap to the memory of holiness. You're going to connect to that holiness, that beautiful memory. You're going to feel the holiness, see it, smell it, know it. After 7, 8, 9 seconds, you're going to go to the 4th one. Or when you do all 4, you're going to cycle back to the first one. 7, 8, 9 seconds. The second one. 7, 8, 9 seconds. Around and around and around. Feeling, sensing, watching, awakening. Go.
as you go around, begin to let them weave together. These aren't separate events, they're one event, they're one gift, one revelation. Sense how there's love in the awe, how there's awe in the love, how there's holiness in love, how there's love in holiness. Gift of love shining through that seed into your heart from Hashem. Focus on the awe, the stars, the awe that you see. There's no stars, there's no details. Hashem wants you to know His awe. How awesome, how small we are. He set up that moment for you. So you get it, so you feel it, so you know it. fill you with insight and wisdom now, clarity now, courage now, understanding now. You can do it. Just choose it and it'll be yours now. Let's take it to your heart now. On the count of 3, it's going to pierce into your heart. 1, 2, now. Fills you with love, with courage, with power, with dignity, with truth in your heart. Expand it. Now, the final step into your body. On the count of 3, it moves into your body from your heart, pulses and pumps through every artery, through every vein. I want you to see the light pouring from the higher world, the sap pouring from the higher world through your beliefs, to your heart, to every aspect of who you are. It's going to happen by itself. 1, 2, 3, go. Turn up the volume of the waterfall, let it flow through, go. Watch this through you and out, go. Now trust me in what we're going to do. It doesn't matter if it's weird. It doesn't matter if you're blocked. Play with us now. If we want to increase the power, there's a limit to what we can do alone. There's much more we can do when we're connected together. This exercise, it's called his kashrus. You can do it right now. On the count of 3, we're going to choose to bind our souls and higher consciousness with everyone else in the room. How does that work? I'm going to count to 3. And when I get to 3, you're going to say, I choose and believe that I'm now connected to everyone else in the room. You're going to choose it and believe it. And when you believe it, it's going to happen. And many of you will feel the energy flooding and just choose to be open to it. You're going to count to 3. You're going to choose and believe to be connected to everyone in the room. 1, 2, 3. We are connected now. Open your hands and fall back into that. If you want to strengthen that energy now, choose and believe it even more. On the count of 3, the feeling's going to be even more strong and real. 1, 2, trust that. This time I want you to open right now to any thoughts and beliefs, any fears and doubts that people have. You're going to become aware of them. Accept them and hold space for them. Allow Hashem to shine His light in them. 1, 2, 3, go. Flood this room with lights, not just for myself, but for everyone in the room. 1, 2, 3. Choose and believe that He can and will double and triple right now. 1, 2, 3. Choose and believe it now. Increase the light more. 1, 2, 3 now. See the light surrounding the room and flooding the room. Use your imagination to treat your soul now. tzaddik and one tzedekis. This may seem weird, but watch what it does. One great spiritual master from Avram, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah, Rav Nachman, Rabbi Shimon, any tzaddik in the Gemara, any tzedekis, any great holy woman in history, prophet or prophetess, choose one now. The souls of these great masters are here for us right now. They're here to help us right now. I want you to choose one and think about their name, think about the stories about them, think about their journeys, their teachings. Start to invest your soul and you will draw their soul towards you right now. Try it. Go. Soul. You will feel that soul's presence arise before you. You will feel them before you. You may see them or sense them. How do you do that? That's the power of your mind. This is in halacha, this is in the Zohar. It's kashrus, it's deep. On the count of 3, choose the tzaddik, the tzedekah should be connected to you and right here with you right now. If that doesn't make sense to you, great. Just believe that it's true and you'll see it will be. 1, 2, 3. Strengthen their presence. Count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Now. Sense them and see them. Talk to them. Ask them a question or ask them for a blessing. Ask them a question or ask them for a blessing now. With you now. Open up your hands and receive the blessing. Ask them to lift up people in the room with confidence. Ask them to help you be here. We're trying so hard. Allow that light to spread now. 1, 2, your source, trace your soul. You are more than just a body, you are more than just feelings, you are more than just beliefs, you are more than just soul, you are an infinite light. Be aware of that. Go higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher, higher and higher. Imagine a ladder right now before you. Its feet on the ground and its head in the sky and heavens. Start climbing the ladder, each rung, higher and higher. Go. The higher you get, the more lives, the more blessing. The more blessing, the more peace. The more peace, the more love. The more love, the more peace. The more peace. It's good, it's okay, trust it. On the count of 3, when you're ready, we're going to begin to eat the fruits of Eretz Yisrael. Before we do, we're going to connect to the energy of Eretz Yisrael. I want you to imagine the borders of Eretz Yisrael right now in your mind. The space it takes up. The power of this land of energy. The journeys our people have been on. I want you to think of Rav Kook rolling on the ground with such joy. I want you to think of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov walking the land. Battles, the sacrifice, the Kedusha. On the count of 3, we're going to choose to connect to the energy of the it's going to flood our souls and our hearts in the room. On the count of 3, choose and believe it. It's your land. 1, 2. When you're ready, I want you to open your eyes and find the fruit of the land of Israel. I want you to taste the dates. I want you to taste the chita, the raisins, the grapes. I want you to imagine connecting through the fruits, the blessing of the fruit. The chew it as if you're chewing on the light. Do that now. And just stare at it. I want you to imagine, if you will, something that's true. That this food is being given existence right now by an infinite loving God. And the taste and the sweetness of the food right now is being generated to give you pleasure. And get the pleasure from the fruit. Get the pleasure from the fruit. Do that now. Realize an infinite being put the pleasure in the fruit to give you pleasure. Be conscious as you can of that right now. Still with me and you're feeling a little connected, raise your hand right now. Okay. Focus your mind on the next step. I want you to take something right now on the table. I want you to take a nut that you know has a hard shell. I want you to take a fruit that has a hard peel. If you're adventurous, you can do what I'm about to do right now. We're going to put the nut back in its shell. I'm going to play the game this way. The law of correspondences, it's totally fine. Hashem gets the point. I want you to put the cup upside down on the table with a knot in the center. Sometimes you have to build your own barriers to break through them. I know this feels to some people like imagination, but one day you'll learn the truth of the way the world works, our souls work. Imagination has a true spiritual effect. I want you to look right now at the knot in its proverbial shell. If you're holding an orange, I want you to hold the peel in your hand. And we're going to ask you to do a mental trick. A simple mental trick. Are you ready? I want you to think of the biggest block in your life. The biggest block in your body. I want you to think of that addiction you carry, whether you acknowledge it or still in denial of it. I want you to think of that block situation, the physical world. I want you to think of that super hardwired thing in your body that you could never break that habit. And I want you to use your mind to see it in the shell. I want you to stare at the shell and invest everything you have of that pain, of the challenge in the shell. feel it with that pain, with that block. You can do it. You can be real with it. You can remember how hard it got. You can remember the challenges there. You can know that you've tried 1,000 times to overcome it, and every time you got slammed back. I want you to know there's something good in this challenge, there's something good in this block. There's value, there's a gift here. You have to get through the block to taste it. And I want you to take any lighter energy in your body that you touched, that you kissed. I want you to hold in mind that Sadek Tzedekis now. I want you to draw on the light of Hashem. And I want you to make a commitment with Hashem. When you do this silly action of breaking the cup, when you do this silly action of breaking the shell, may Hashem empower that here in the darkness of winter to break through in reality that this action is a prayer, my friends. Your action is a prayer. It's a prayer embodied in action. It's a prayer empowered with heart. It's an action empowered with intent. And when you're ready, in your own time, I want you to peel that orange. It's a silly act, but I want you to give it a heartfelt significance. I want you to break the cup as if you're breaking off all the blocks of the physical reality. And I want you to eat it and see yourself celebrating the other side. Go. Get pleasure from the eating. That's the key. Get pleasure from the eating. Get pleasure from the eating is the key. Close your eyes and focus on it. This blessing deserves all your attention. See yourself on the other side of the block. When you're ready, take the white wine, fill it high, add a few drops of red, go. The rest of it goes fast. Hold in there with us right now. Okay, raise up your cup, everybody. Raise it high. 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 Here we go. See those cups? This is bringing the high of your soul, the heart of your soul, the depth of the light within you. You're going to purify your mind now. You're going to draw it down to the level of mind, to the level of Bria, to the level of idea, to empower your ideas with your soul, your beliefs with your soul. I hope, say yes to this if there's actual wine in your cup. Good. So it feels good when you drink wine, right? Good. Allow that feeling to expand you. That's the trick. It's really a shift in your consciousness. Choose the intent right now that we're bringing the higher world of Atzilus all the way into the world of Bria to purify, to see the truth, to know the truth, that which we believe should be beliefs of truth, of goodness. L'chaim. Whoa. I want you to grab right now a fruit on your plate. A fruit that represents that you can eat it easily on the inside, on the outside, but there's something inedible on the inside. Maybe that is a apricot. A date is also good. Persimmon is also good. We're nearly finished. Hold in there. Hold up whatever fruit you're choosing to use. Let's see that fruit. Let's see that fruit. Okay, hold the food tightly in your hands. Close your eyes and here we go. I want you to think of the biggest emotional block that you had. I want you to think of the biggest emotional block that you've tried for years and can't get rid of. You've done the therapy, you've done the drugs, you've done everything you can, the energy work, and you can't get rid of. People really have this. Shh. I want you to know your heart is good. I want you to know that every minute you have, every feeling you had has a holy expression. I want you to know the reason you carry this fear, the reason you have this trust issue, is because at some point in your life you needed to be afraid of things. The reason we don't trust is because there was that time in our life when those bad things happened and I had to help myself by learning to not trust. I want you to know whatever feelings are there, they're reasonable that they're there, but they don't need to be there anymore. That's the truth. They don't need to be there anymore. So right now, we're going to eat this fruit. We're going to taste the sweetness of our midas, of our emotions, of feelings. And whenever there's something bad in there, we're going to choose. The bad should be taken out. And Hashem, let me feel you in a beautiful way. Let my fear be awe. Let my love be holy passion for goodness in the world. May my ego be surrendered to a higher yeshus, a higher self. May my sense of dominance, I'm not willing to give up, not be used for my ego. May I be relentless in living a meaningful life. May I be relentless in seeing good in others. May I be relentless in finding integrity, finding something worthy to fight for in the world and not stopping. May my hoid, submission, humility, may I know when to pull back. May I know when to give other people the space. May I know when to trust the process. May I know when to trust others. Yesod, may I desire to bond with the right thing. May my sexual desire for intimacy be only channeled towards holiness. May I bond in the most beautiful way. May I connect in the most beautiful way. Can I raise that to holiness? Let's bring heaven down to earth to create true Paris. To not be wasteful of my energy. And to do good with all the energy I've been blessed with. Malchus, may I only manifest the best within me. And let go of all that isn't. When you eat this food, focus on that one challenge of the heart. May you commit right now from this day forward together, do this together. Hold in mind, if I can't let it go, can everyone else Hashem in the room be given the gift to let it go right now? Give it to everybody else. Let it go. And eat this food to know that there's goodness and sweetness in our feelings, goodness and sweetness in our hearts, and goodness and sweetness in Yitzhak. Any light or connection you have, let it shine into your heart now. In all our hearts now. Go. There's pleasure in the food. Taste the pleasure. Taste the pleasure of the process. Cup number 3. Here we go, Clever. Half white, half breath. If you're getting a little tipsy, that's what I said, just one of those together. Hold up your cup when you're ready. Let's see it. Let's see the cups held high. Cups held high. I want to tell you a story of a girl I spoke to this week. This girl has been through more abuse than anyone I've ever met. More physical abuse, emotional abuse than any girl I've ever met. She spent more money on therapy than anyone I've ever met. She's thought she was healed 1,000 times more than anyone I've ever met. And she called up this week and she said, how long does it go on for? How long does it go on for? It's not like I haven't fought, I fought. It's not like I haven't tried, I've tried. It's not like I haven't tried all the therapy, followed all the rabbis, did everything I can. And she said, I can't do it anymore. This is going to go on forever. Listen very carefully to this line. I can't do it anymore. This is going to go on forever. And I said to her, you can't do it anymore because you think it's going to go on forever. I said to her, what if I told you right now that this is the last 24 hours of your pain? This is the last 24 hours of your struggle. What if I told you right now? She said, how would you feel then? She said, I could do it, I'd totally do it, I'd fly through the day. I said, so you have the power and you have the strength. As long as you don't convince yourself that this is going to go on forever. Because we can fight the challenges that we're given, but we can't fight the challenges that we haven't been given. And the truth is they deplete us even more than the challenges we are given. Her challenge is that she believes it will last forever. And a Yetzer Hara, the Baal Davar, gives her 1,000 proofs. This has happened before, so it'll happen again. And she bought that belief. The biggest challenges you have in your lives are that which you believe, which is not true. That's called Doniel. What do you believe to be true, which isn't true at all? What things are you pursuing that you believe that you need, that you don't need? What things are you afraid of that you're convinced will happen that may never happen? What perception do you have about yourself which you're sure is true, but maybe it's not? Yesterday I did a meditation with a group of holy women. One woman said, I can't feel it, I can't feel the love, I can't feel the love, why can't I feel the love? I could see straight away by looking in the eyes because she thinks that she doesn't deserve it. She believes she doesn't deserve it and therefore she can't feel it. Close your eyes right now. This is a chance right now, in the darkest of winter, in the darkest of beliefs, to burst through that block. Before you close your eyes, reach for one fruit that you can eat all the way. That's transparent, that's completely good, that's completely sweet. When you open up your mind to see that everything is good, that everything is blessing, your mind is transparent, it floods your heart with good, it floods your body with good. I want you to focus on right now the biggest belief that you have, that you want to let go of. I want you to focus right now with all your heart and soul. I want you to invest that in the fruit. I want you to allow Hashem to take it away and taste the sweetness that you believed in love and truth and peace and empowerment and your mission in this world. and that you had clarity and strength, that there were no blocks at all, not now and not ever. I want you to see it like it's a reality. I want you to imagine blasting open, releasing, falling away, and flooding your mind with light. When you're ready, taste the victory, taste the clarity, and eat the fruit. Go. Red wine. Red wine. Fill up your cup with red wine. Oh, you didn't do the last one. L'chaim, everyone drink the last one. That's what I get for drinking 2 other cups of wine. Okay, watch this. The mystics say the last cup is red with a couple of drops of white. And they want to put this in their hands and then sit in your chairs. With a cup ready in your hands, the red wine. For the final step of the process, this is very simple to do. I want everybody to fill the cup, put it on the table in front of you, wrap your hand around it. I'm going to try one more very weird thing now. If you felt that you were able to connect to a tzaddik or tzaddikus and feel that neshama, raise your hand right now. Hi. Isn't that interesting? I want everyone to get this drink in your hand, the cup on the table, so it's resting in the still place. I want you to sit up straight in your chair. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to know that you are the Eitz Chaim. I want you to know that you are the tree of life. The last step, my friends. What we're going to climb right now is to the root of our soul. I'll show you how to do that. We're going to flood ourselves with light, and then we're going to pour that light into this cup. And in this cup is all our pain and all our struggle, and all our fears and all the challenges, not just of us, but the Shekhinah and Klal Yisrael, of Am Yisrael, everyone in this room and everyone in this city, everyone in this country, all the politics, of all the history, of all the personal, professional struggles, of all the marriages, of all the children. And I want you to believe in the last few seconds right now of the Seder, in this darkest time of winter, and you know what's happening in politics, and you know what's happening in our land, and you know what's happening in religion, and you know what's happening with children in your community, and you know there's people that are suffering from physical illnesses in hospital, and you know there's couples who are driving each other through so much pain in their marriage, you know there's people that can't afford to live through daily life, and you know there's people that are so traumatized they can't find the healing. This is the reality we live in right now. This is a world of process, and one day, maybe they'll see the end. There's so many people, there's so many captives, and they need our help now. Not one day, but now to see the light, now to see the goodness, now to see the value, now to see the peace, now to see the truth. I'm going to collapse the exile and redeem the present. light into the physical reality. This is the cup of redemption, where we fix the knowledge of good and evil until we only have a knowledge of light and truth. I want everyone to right now begin to return to the love and the love and the holiness and the awe. Love, love, holiness and awe, round and round. Begin that process now, round and round. Go. Love, Because you know Hashem's giving it to you because He loves you. See that passion of existence in the blocks and know you know it's good. See if you can thank Hashem for it right now. I know it's hard. Just know that when you get there, you're going to thank Him for that. What are those blocks going to do? What's Hashem trying to teach you through those blocks? That you're strong, that you're courageous. Good Yantif. It's not easy to run a Tu B'Shvat Seder. There are many different souls in the room, connect to many different things. Sometimes you feel in the zone and sometimes you don't. There's a lot of variables. But I think it's something incredibly special in trying. To have the courage to try. To have the courage of coming together. Some people are able to connect in a deep way. Some people don't connect in a deep way. Some people leave feeling elevated. Some people leave feeling frustrated. But we're trying to take Torah to a deep level. And we try to access a deep place. And that itself, I believe, is precious. That itself, I believe, is worthy. The music doesn't hurt either. Hands up if that was an interesting experience for you. Hands up if that in some way was a beautiful experience for you. Hands up if you feel in some way more deeply connected at some point to that process. Hands up if you're able to connect to it, sat up in Vegas and feel that the neshama was with you. Hands up if that's pretty weird for you. Have another glass of wine, that will help. We have exactly 120 seconds left. Would anyone care to share anything unusual that happened in there for them? If you don't, have another glass of wine, that will help. Rachel, is it? Rachel? What's that? Listen, you're always welcome to have a fifth or a sixth or a seventh. Depends how Kabbalistic you are. You can have 10. I can give you a lot of tours to justify whatever you want to drink. As far as I know from the Kidveri and all the Swama Kaddish, there's only 4 cups. And you are the 5th cup, and you are the source of light, and you elevate all the other things around you. If you want a 5th cup, you're welcome to glove wine on my table. I'm happy to pour one for you. Not questions, but experiences. I want to hold the space for an experience. Anyone care to share? Yes, hello there, I know you. Remember your name? So, please stand up so people can see you.
I think there was like one point where I was like, yeah, but I've still got the fear and I've still got the blocks and like how many, and then there was like this moment where I was just like, and what if like I could let the blocks be and still let in the light? And then there was like later on in the experience, like I was still feeling the block, but then I just felt like when you asked like us to like imagine like post, you know, the blocks and like this a lot of trauma that I've been like holding on to for a lot, like for always, and it's like there's a certain point where I just saw like the darkness and the light kind of like going into this dance, and then I've met a lot of people the last week in Israel who all like been having extreme like mental health issues and like pain, and I just like brought them into that circle, and
Wow.
I just felt like there was like this place where within the pain there could be a source of light as well.
Wow.
And it doesn't need to be neat and packaged in, but it was
It's amazing. I didn't have to resist the pain, but accept the pain, but acknowledge in that place that light could flood it and surround it, and they could exist together. We mentioned the other day that all the choshech, light and darkness together, all the choshech is gematria Yisrael. They were able to hold place for light and darkness because the light itself, darkness itself is a revelation of Hashem. That's what it means. He got to the other side and the walls weren't there, because even the walls themselves, even the blocks themselves had a gift themselves. So they say. I saw a lot of tears or things happening in there for you. Sounds like you had a good time. Anyone else care to share? If you could stand up just so everyone... A lot of smudged makeup, that's usually a good sign. No, that's okay. Now that I noticed, I'm just saying.
feel something like an experience of love, and then of holiness, and then of awe. So before there were like 3 different elements, and I had to take myself into 3 different rooms. And then as it went on, I started to do like this dance, and I started dancing through each room, and then eventually the ceiling became the stars, which was my awe. The dancing what I've experienced, that took me to that place of Kedusha. I was dancing, and then that place of love became a chuppah. So for me, the tzaddik that I was taking was the Rabbi, and he was marrying me under the chuppah.
It's usually the chuppah Rabbi, by the way. Everyone projects their own Rabbi.
Sorry, the Lubavitch Rabbi. So for me, it all became a chuppah. That's what it became.
Whoa.
It was a chuppah with Hashem, and then it was a chuppah with me. And
all my life I was very troubled by all these kind of things in Chassidus and Kabbalah about imagination. You can imagine the lights, you can imagine the lights swirling around you, imagine the chuppah. I was like, that's very nice, it's not mystical experience, it's imagination. And then I finally found the source that explained it to me in a way my mind could understand, that imagination is the tool we use to teach our supernatural soul what to tune into. And when you begin with imagination, then you shift beyond imagination into a direct experience. Hands up if you experienced something like that before. So the mystics say that you can feel when it crosses over out of imagination. Like, oh, she took off the ceiling and then imagined the stars and then she imagined the chuppah. But I don't know this young lady. I hope I don't know this young lady, but you passed if I did. But it's not like you're trying to imagine that. You imagine at the beginning and then suddenly it's given to you.
Suddenly the image became...
The Vilna Gaon, it's supposed to say the soul begins to feed the image to you, what's happening to it above. That it's creating a chuppah. That it's taking off your ceiling and revealing an infinite connection. There's a deep reason we use imagination. Anyone else care to share? Yes, Rebbitzin, over there. The loudest, if you could stand up and people can still not see you because there's a pole behind you, but yes.
I don't want to stand.
Have another glass of wine. The Jewish taste, the Muslims.
You asked for some tzaddikim to come to me, so to me I connected David Miller. He showed up, but before him, somebody that really out of my realm of consciousness. It's not out of my consciousness because obviously my consciousness brought her.
Right.
But Abigail came with him.
Ah.
And I don't know much about Abigail.
She does, don't worry. Keep going, yes.
She does. So I'm wondering because I know maybe one sentence about her that she gave water to David Melech while he was fighting.
Right.
And Naval did not really want, and she was the wife of Naval. But what happened here?
What happened here, my friends, is that spirituality is a reality. Oh. We can be fooled for many years and we can forget that spirituality is reality, right? And therefore, you don't need to know who Abigail is, but she knows who Abigail is, and she has a soul, and her soul is connected, and her soul, like all the tzaddikim and tzaddikas, is connected to Klal Yisrael, and it's helping Klal Yisrael, and she knows why she has to come to you, and you can know them and not know that you understand or don't understand. As I think Chazal said, there's more in heaven and earth than is dreamt of in our philosophy. No way, that was Shakespeare. But it's still true. It's still true. Glass, over there, ma'am. Your name is Tamar, and you called upon Tamar, yes?
That as a woman, that I would receive what is due, right, which is righteous. I have strength and the courage to ask for that, as God did. And also for Ruth, that she lay at the feet of Boaz, and that her love would be come to her the things that she desires. And thank you.
It's amazing to me how biblical we are in our souls. We are so biblical in our souls. And this sweet lady just said something about Tamar, and Tamar came to her, and Boaz, and she's not saying these words and she's not giving it about Torah. There's something cosmic as the background reality, which is interfacing with us more than our minds understand. The words that this lady said are just like Boaz and Tamar, and look at the tears, and look at the power, and look at the... There was a woman, when we did one of these exercises one time, a South African trip, we're nearly finished. 3 more hours. This woman came, a completely secular woman from South Africa, and when you look at this woman, you know in a second she has probably spent a lot of her life in rehab. She looks like some kind of addict, or every kind of addict. And when I spoke to her after, I realized that was of course true, but you could see it very fast. And we closed our eyes and went into Vegas, and then all of a sudden we connected to a static, and then suddenly I'm in the room, I'm watching everyone, I'm tuning into what everyone's doing, and there's a Niagara Falls, tears, completely secular woman, no Jewish upbringing, no Sunday school, nothing. So afterwards we're going around the table, and this woman turns and she says, I didn't know how to connect to her, I don't know any tzaddikim. I had to struggle to work out what the word tzaddik meant. She said, but at that moment I'm thinking, who are these tzaddikim? She said, Sarah, Rivka, Rachel, Leah came to me. And they surrounded me. And she said, all my life I felt a vacuum in my heart, a vacuum in my being. That I'm nothing, and everything I'm searching for, all the drugs, everything is trying to fill that. And she said, I've never felt such love and compassion. Such love and compassion, and they were surrounding me and they were speaking to me. She said, I don't know the words that they said, but they were speaking to me. The Bible is not something in a book, it's something happening there, it's something happening here, and something that is here. Rabbi posted, in summary, it was hard, but we pushed through. It didn't speak to everybody, but it's amazing how many people are still here. At the end, when all the people that didn't connect to the left, look how many people are connected to that remained. And these are brave, brave soldiers and brave, brave warriors. And we should be blessed to see the fruit clearly, even in the darkness. We should be blessed that we don't even see the darkness, because all we taste is fruit and revelation and goodness. And we should be blessed that the tree of life, there's no more confusion, there's no more Democrats and Republicans, there's no Reform and ultra-Orthodox and ultra-Orthodox. I don't know what the heck ultra-Orthodox is. It always sounds like a washing detergent. Ultra-Orthodox. Whitens your whites, blackens your blacks. The Chaye Chayim, the life of life, the tree of life, is that there is no winter, then there's only light, and there's only goodness, there's only peace. And I thank you, courageous souls, for coming out and tasting fruit and trying, and I thank the persons, Rabbi person, Reverend person who wants to say a word, but putting on an event like this and bringing a madman like me. And I thank my soulmates, and how extraordinary was the music. I always wish that I could turn the volume down on that Katz guy and just listen to the music for a while. I don't know why he feels the need to talk over the whole thing. But I had this idea for a long time that prophets use music to get to prophecy, and therefore we should use music to get to meditation. But and I had this idea about how many musicians we have to go through to find people that play from a deeper place. It says that the prophets went into a state of prophecy and then they played, and that's what triggered other people's prophecy. And these are the neshamas that play from already a deeper place. Do you want to be drummers, Nebuch? And they have a guitar, Nebuch, they're gonna some heavy metal band. He's my son, there's the father, so I have to be careful what I say. But there are some. But when these neshamas play, again, it's a nice thing for Rabbi to say, there's a mamash playing from my high place, they made that thing up. And I've heard them do that and again, they're in the meditation with us, they're connected to us, and something coming out. which is representing us, which is what music is. It's channeling into a kli. And every musician, every performer, every rabbi worth their salt knows that everything you plan and write in the script before is irrelevant to what comes through in real time. And I do my best to channel in real time and to meet musicians that channel in real time. All their skill gets channeled into revelation. Their skill gets channeled into revelation. That's what you heard in the room, right? And it's just a connection with these Heilige Yidden. So,
I just want to share that when the rabbi was mentioning, thinking of a neshama. So my mom passed away many, many years ago, and she actually, I was feeling her presence before the rabbi got to the stage of welcoming the higher soul. And as we were playing the music, I was experiencing as I was like the music was happening and I was watching it, and the presence of my mom was there, and the experience was that I'm being shown or being played the music that she's listening to. I can probably count on one hand how many times since she passed away I actually felt the presence. So it was, and it was all positive. It was all very soothing and healing, happy, with a big smile. Yeah, thank you.
Wow.
We're actually family. I was family with my mom. Very, very fast.
Okay, I have a personal question.
This is the father.
That's my son. This is all. I have a personal request to make. I decided it's going to take some courage. We're going to do it anyway. And it just follows on from what my son just said. My wife, Ala Shalom, was an incredible lady. Everybody knows me. Alan Solomon, and you heard Earl Solomon knows what an incredible lady she was. She loved the world loved her, she loved God, she brought God into everything. Whoever you were, but in such a natural way that it was just so natural. It was like revelation, She had a genius for life. Anyway, she passed away 8 years ago. So many things you said this evening, before, during, and after, were a reflection of the life she and I had together. This is not just a promotion. I've written a book about her life and my life together called Connected. The subtitle is, it's coming out in a few months. The subtitle is The Inspiring Story of Two Souls' Journey to a Greater Reality. The Inspiring Story of Two Souls' Journey to a Greater Reality. We were connected before we met, during we met, and even after she passed away. There's been major connection. So many things you said tonight, which never related to that. And here comes my moment of courage. It's 8 years ago. Any lady in this room who is in her 60s or thereabouts who understands what I've just been talking about. I need my zivug. I need to get on with my life. I need to move forward. Please come and speak to me. Please.
In the spirit of the man of music you just heard, can everyone close their eyes? Close your eyes, close your eyes, close your eyes. I get even when Nachman says it's nice to bang the palms of our hands together. Kol hakavod to us all. Let's just close our eyes for 1 second. Pray that those who are here looking for their zivug, including this holy Yid and everyone else, any challenges, any blocks, any clippers, any peels, there's the fruit of tasting the soul connection, which perhaps is the greatest fruit in this world, is the greatest sweetness in the world. There are many wonderful souls I know in this room who are worthy against their, the least may tell them, whatever blocks they have, they are worthy, 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 and ready, 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 and good, 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 and able, able, able to give that love and connect. Let us pray for 1 second. Let's see the fruit even in their darkness. Let's taste their fruit. Let's see them in their fruit. Let's know what can be. There's no one who's yearning for the zivug more than Hashem. The Shekhinah who Am Yisrael is gone. And Hashem is yearning for zivug. And He says they have so much to give. I have so much to love, I have so much to pour in. Why can I not find someone? To anyone who's waiting, who's yearning, know you're in good company. You're in good company. And see the Beis HaMikdash, see the chuppah the young lady mentioned, see the zivug. Rabbi Kadosh says, Tu B'Shvat is the day of Zoeh is Yesod, is the connection between man and woman. That's what it is, potential reality, Havaya Adnos, the clipper and the pri. See it as reality, and Hashem, take away the peel, take away the blocks. Anyone who's in this room right now that says, I'm old and I'm not married, I'm old meaning in the film world, I'm more than 22 years old. I just want you to know that you're worthy. I want you to know whatever happened in the past to make you not get here, that does not mean. And I know you're thinking, I know, but you don't know. There's so much pain we carry when it doesn't happen. We start to question ourselves. We all do that. You're married or single, we all do that. See the chuppah's reality, see it for them, see the love happen, see it for them, see the zivuk happen, see it for them, see the soid happen, see it for them, see all the clippers, and reach for some fruit and taste the sweetness. Do it. Okay, I've said enough. Rabbi Koster would like to say the final words. Please don't jump up before he says, I thank you, even though it was hard for many of you, even though some of you did not connect. I thank you for your courage to try. Don't give up. You're one block away, you're one slight thing away from connecting the big way. Please sit in your seat for 1 second, Rabbi Koster. I would like to thank Doniel so deep, so profound what they contribute. I would like to thank Rabbi Koster. I don't know if people would complain to him, what was that emotional, spiritual, imaginational stuff about. But I thank him for all the good work he's doing to help his people and creating platforms like this, all different speakers of all different varieties, because he knows that we are diverse and our community is diverse and Rabbi is diverse, and he's trying to find different shidduchim, different shviim, to find people can find their connection and their path to the goodness our heritage contributes. And I thank him for if I never get another opportunity, I thank you for this opportunity. And thank you for all the holy work you're doing. And please sit in your seats, just please for the final words. I'm going to sit here. If people have anything else they want to tell me, I'll be here for a few more minutes with my tiny little boys who I love, who I have to go to bed soon. Oh, he's really so tired, my sweet boy, hold him there. But I'm here to answer questions or anything else. Sit in your seats for one more minute. Thank you so much, Rabbi Koster. Thank you, everybody.
Wow. So if I could just get everyone's momish attention for like 2 whole minutes. So I really want to thank Doniel and the guys from L'Oreal, and I also want to thank every single one of you who actually came and stayed till the end, although people who will probably see this. Thank you all for coming now. Because we're all on this elevated state of love and unity and really connected, I'm going to ask, this is my moment of courage. I beg of you, please, for the next 10 minutes, if we can all just put all the chairs in the bags, pick them up. I'm going to pass out garbage bags, but please, all food, any food and bottles, bring to the kitchen, and then we'll disassemble the tables and put the parts in the back. Let's really show our love, and I guarantee in 10 minutes this whole place is going to be back to the way it was, and then we'll have a meeting in the next room for those who have not yet died. So I thank you once again, and Daniel, and guys.
Don't forget to make an afterglow. An afterglow, that's if you're into that religious stuff, please make a blessing after.